Hello students, today we will discuss lesson number 13, the Reformation. Reformation means to form something again. So this Reformation movement was the output of Renaissance. That chapter we have already done. So let us start with this chapter. In our reduced syllabus, the topics which are there, only today we will discuss those topics. So first is the meaning of a reformation. So what is meant by reformation? The Renaissance in Europe stimulated people to think for themselves. They were not prepared to believe that something was true without thinking about it or looking for proof. So, with the movement of Renaissance in Europe, people started to think for themselves. They started to put questions. They started to think logically. The spirit of inquiry led to a movement for the reform of abuses in the Roman Church. So, spirit of inquiry means the Renaissance. So, that movement led the movement of this Reformation. It was the reformation of abuses in the Roman Church. The wrong things that were going on in Roman Church, it was against those things, ending in the establishment of the Protestant Church. So this movement end when the Protestant Church was established. And the movement was led by Martin Luther. So who was Martin Luther? Martin Luther was a Christian priest and a reformer in the early years of the 16th century. It means, if question is there, what is meant by reformation? So this movement was started by Martin Luther, who was a Christian priest and a social and religious reformer. So this movement was a kind of a protest against the abuses in the Roman Church. For its definition, you can go with the points to remember also. Here, definition is given here. The Reformation movement was led by Martin Luther. It protested against the evil practiced that had crept into the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, now this was our first topic in this chapter. Now let us go with the second topic, an important one, that is the causes of reformation. So why this reformation movement was started? Causes: first is dissatisfaction with the practice of the Catholic Church. So people were not satisfied with the things that were going on in the church. First was lifestyle of Pope and the clergy. The Pope and the clergy led lives of luxury and impurity. So very comfortable life they were spending with impurity. Many wrong things were going on. Great scholars like Erasmus and Thomas More, in their work Praise of Folly and Utopia, respectively, brought to light the abuses that were rampant in the church. So, the wrong things that were flourishing in the church, they just raised their voice against that. Second, the priests were exploitative. The priests charged high fees for conducting religious ceremonies. The office of church were sold by the Pope. The priest could pronounce a marriage lawful or unlawful. They extracted money for each such transaction. The priests, they were exploitatives. They were using wrong kind of things. They were having the authority to declare a marriage lawful or unlawful, and they were charging very high fees to conduct any kind of religious ceremony. Third one is sale of indulgences. So indulgence means a kind of a letter to remit any kind of a sin. Another way of collecting money was the sale of letters, which remitted punishment for sin. Those who had money would be made free from doing panis. Panis means just to be free from any kind of sin, or to get salvation, means free from the cycle of birth and death. People use this panis, means they were punishing themselves, or they were doing a kind of meditation in which they were punishing themselves. So that was known as panis. And now those who were having money, they can purchase that ladder, and when they purchase those ladders, so they were supposed that now they are free from their sins, and now no need to do any kind of penance. And that ladder only those can purchase who were having money. It means those who are having money, they can do anything, and just after purchasing this ladder, they all were free from all kind of sins. And the clergy claimed that those who bought the indulgence got remission of their sin by God. So this was wrong practice that was going on in the church, and this was a cause behind this reformation. Fourth is Tithi, a tax for the support of the church. The people were required to pay Tithi, that was the 1/10 of their income, to support churches and priests. Besides, the clergy collected another tax called Peter's Panel. So already one tax was there, that was Tithe, and another one was also introduced, Peter's Panes. So these taxes were a kind of burden on the common man, and this burden fell mainly on the peasants and the middle class families, and these taxes were collected just to support church and just to support their priests so that they can spend luxurious life. So now people were against this. Then is the raising of funds to build St. Peter's Basilica. Pope Leo X, he wanted to build a new church, that was St. Peter's Basilica. And in this new church, he wanted new architectural designs. And for that, he need more money. So what he did, he sent emissaries, means a kind of ambassadors, to sell indulgence and to collect funds for the new project. So for this new project means there's a St. Peter's Basilica. To get the money or to collect the money, he sent his missionaries or ambassadors so that they can sell those indulgence, means those letters, and they can collect the fund. John Tetzel, an agent of the Pope. So when this person went to Wittenberg with the mission of raising sums for the building, it provoked Martin Luther. So when he reached, Martin Luther was angry on this act of Pope Leo X. So this act provoked him, and this was the reason why Martin Luther raised their voice against this kind of wrong practices. Six is rulers' resentment at Pope's interference in administrative affairs. So these were the oppositions by common men, by the intellectual persons. Now even the rulers were against the Pope, because Pope was interfering all the political and administrative matters of the state. As early as 13th century, the rulers of Europe had quarreled with Pope over the church property. So church was having its property, and moreover that property was tax free. So those taxes which were collecting from the common person, but church or church property could not be taxed. And the rivalry ended in the defeat of papacy. Papacy means authority of Pope. So when authority of Pope came to an end, only then this rivalry ended. And the French king Philip IV had forced Pope Clement V to leave his headquarters at Rome. In 1309 and stay in Avignon in France when he interfered in his political affairs. So example is given here how that kind of ruler's resentment was shown, and this was the example one when French King Philip IV he forced the popes to leave that place. Then another movement was the humanist movement. The humanist movement of the medieval period did much to discredit the pretensions of the church. So now, with this humanist movement, that church and their priest they lost their respect. Then Reuchlin and Erasmus criticized the church for its corruption and worldly business. Worldly business where they were collecting money, they were increasing their money for their luxurious life. Reuchlin brought to light many inconsistencies in the interpretation of the Bible that were made by theological scholars. The Dutch scholar Erasmus criticized the conduct of the clergy and he wanted them to change their lifestyle. So earlier, the church persons they were defining Bible according to them, but now when Bible was translated into vernacular languages, now everything was clear. So the scholars they just interpret the Bible and they criticize those churchmen, those who were misguiding the people or those who were using them. And now these persons or these scholars they wanted that this clergy must it is must for this clergy to change their lifestyle, but unfortunately Pope Leo X he was not able or he just couldn't see the danger signal, means he was not aware that what is going on, means what type of wrong things are going on, and the output could be something different that will not be in favor to them. Then is the spread of new learning. The new learning and the spirit of inquiry that was developed by Renaissance scholar, the invention of printing press. So these are the new things. First, the printing press and the printing of Bible into vernacular languages brought a complete change in people's outlook. So now with the help of printing press, with the help of this printing press, Bible was introduced or translated into many other vernacular languages and copies were available. Those who can read now these translated Bible books were available for them. And they now questioned superiority of the church. It also led to the growth of secular ideas. It means people started to think independently without any kind of religious aspects. Nobles and merchants believed that there was nothing wrong in acquiring wealth to lead a worldly life. The monarch and capitalist were jealous of the wealth of church. The common people in Europe looked upon church taxes with contempt. So those taxes were there for the common person. Now they were don't want or they were not ready to pay those taxes for the church. So this new learning or the spread of new learning was also a cause of this reformation. Then is the Wycliffe's ideas. Who was Wycliffe? He was an English priest and he was also a teacher in Oxford University, and had leveled criticism against the worldliness of the church and its superstitious practices. He laid emphasis on the Bible as the sole guide for finding the true path of salvation. So now he started to teach the people that to gain or to get salvation means to be free from the cycle of birth and death. The only required thing is to choose true path. It means Bible is there to show the way towards the salvation. It means there is no need to purchase any kind of letters of indulgences. And he was the first to translate the Holy Bible into English. So already we done that English was translated into vernacular languages, many European languages, and particular English Bible was translated in English first time by this Wycliffe's only. And earlier Bible in the beginning it was written in Hebrew, many other mixture of a few languages. Then later on the sub parts of this Bible, that is also known as a New Testament, that was written in Greek language, and that was not a common language for all. So later on Bible was translated into many languages. If question is there by whom it was first translated into English, that is Wycliffe's. And we already done that Martin Luther, he translated Bible. So he translated Bible into German language. Okay, so now the clergy who had regarded the ability to read and interpret the Bible as their sole right were shocked. So now Bible was available in English language and other vernacular languages. So now those clergy persons, those who were earlier regarded that only they can read the Bible, they were shocked with this. And the church ordered his expulsion from Oxford University where he was teaching. Just because of this act, he was ordered to quit that university. And in 1384 he died. Wycliffe's ideas soon spread far and wide. His followers were called Lollards. Lollards means the member who were murmuring and singing the scriptures. If question is there, Wycliffe's followers were known as Lollards. Why? Then you can write down because of their habit of murmuring and singing the scriptures. And the church warned people against the Lollards. Many of them were treated very badly. So these all reasons were the causes of this Reformation. And this topic Martin Luther is not in syllabus, but in previous chapter Renaissance this is there. So answer you can write down from that also. So who was Martin Luther? He was a Christian priest and a social and religious reformer who translated Bible into German. Then our last topic from this chapter is counter reformation. So from counter reformation only meaning is there in our reduced syllabus. So what is counter reformation? It means the reformation within one particular part against earlier others were. So this counter reformation was in Catholic Church when they started to think about the wrong things in their church or in the clergy or pope. So they started to change that kind of wrongs in their church, or what we can say that were Protestants were against the wrong practices in the church. So they started to change their way, and that was a reformation in Catholic. And that change or that reformation in Catholic is known as counter reformation. So let us start with its meaning. The reforms of the Church of Rome in the 16th and 17th century, it was stimulated by the Protestant Reformation. So this movement in 16th and 17th century, it was encouraged in the Protestant, means started and encouraged by the Protestant reformers or reformations. Then, as a result, Christianity became more liberal and more tolerant of different kinds of opinion. So, now when this reformation was started in Catholic Church itself, that was earlier by the Protestants, means started by the Protestant. So, this is known, or this was known as a counter reformation. I think topic is clear, that a kind of reformation or kind of changes in 16th and 17th century that were encouraged by the Protestant reformers, and later on those reforms were started in Catholic Church also, that is known as counter reformation. So with this, this chapter is over. If you people are having any doubt, you can message me. So till the time, just watch this video, go through the topics, and you have to prepare this chapter also for upcoming test. Thank you.